I'm so very excited today because God has a word for you. I'm so very excited today because God has come to change your story. I'm so very glad because this word is for your destiny. So wherever you're listening to me from, or hearing the sound of my voice, or watching this broadcast, I want you to invite everyone around you. Invite your friends. Invite all members of this ministry. Let them know that the prophet is on the air and God is about to change their lives. I want to preach today on a topic that I titled, Why Do We Engage Everyone for Every Project in this ministry? Why do we engage everyone for every project in this ministry? I want to start by saying this, that God is not a user and dumper of men. God does not use men and dump men. Every opportunity to be used by God is an opportunity for beautification. Every opportunity to be used by God is an opportunity for transformation. Every opportunity to be used by God is an opportunity for greatness. You cannot go to the ocean to swim and not have your clothes wet. The great I am that I am cannot enable you and grace you with a responsibility and you remain small. You can never remain small. Why? Because a great God has used you and placed his hand upon your life. Because every man that God used for his work, for his project, for his kingdom, he places his hand upon their life and graces them. When God graces your life, he saves you from disgrace. So every opportunity to be used by God, every opportunity to put in time, resources, effort towards propagation of the gospel or towards kingdom project is an opportunity to be saved from disgrace. Because grace saves you from disgrace. And every man that God uses, he places his grace upon that man. That's why as a worker in God's vineyard, as a giver for every of God's project, you cannot live a disgraceful life. Your life can never be small. Why? Because grace saves you from disgrace. I want to answer some of our very important questions. The questions that I believe are on our mind concerning how we need to respond to God's project and to God's work. I believe the first question might be or may be, why do we always engage everybody for every project in this ministry? The answer is simple. Number one, it is an opportunity for life transformation. In the book of 1 Kings chapter 3, reading from verse 4 down to 28, the Bible says, and Solomon gave 1,000 burnt offering, and his life was transformed. God himself showed himself to Solomon in a dream and asked of him, said, what do you want me to do for you? For God himself to come to a man and ask of him, what do you want me to do for you. Kai, that is an encounter with divinity. Solomon lived so many years before that time and never had an encounter with God. But via his commitment to kingdom service, via his commitment to kingdom project, via his sacrificial giving, God showed up for him and said, son, your days of suffering are over. Your days of being little are over. Your days of being foolish are over. I said, from now on, I bless you with wisdom. Do you know so many people that are not giving, they end up living a foolish life? That's why some of them, they invest in different projects that crumble. At the end of the day, they begin to blame God. God, why didn't you protect my business? God, why didn't you protect this? God, why didn't you protect that? And God is just there looking at them and saying, look at this one. They don't understand my secret. When you are committed, when you are engaged in God's project, God becomes engaged in your project. When you are committed to God's project, God becomes committed to your project. When you are interested in God's work, God becomes interested in your work. That's why you see some people, their businesses can never fail. Whatever project that they engage in always flourish. And you begin to jealous them, you begin to envy them, begin to wonder why is this so. Go and check their life. They are dangerous givers. Those people are dangerously committed to God's work. Why? Because serving God pays, and serving God pays the most. Somebody may ask, why did God even tell us? What is God saying concerning issues like this? Is it even biblical? Yes, it is biblical. It is biblical to engage people in the project of God. In the book of Exodus chapter 36, from verse 1 to 5, the Bible said, and Moses engaged the people. There was a project to be done to build the sanctuary of God, and Moses engaged the people. And the Bible said, and the people gave. They brought more than enough, that the officials had to come to Moses and say, Moses, you have to stop the people from giving, because what they have given is more than enough. Please stop them. It is enough. It is even more than enough. In the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 29, reading from verse 7, the Bible said, and David gave to build the temple. He gave gold, he gave various precious stones and other materials to build the temple. And he came before the people of God and said, this is my father's house, and it is my responsibility to build it. He was speaking as a prophet. And he said, I've provided so and so tons of gold, so and so tons of silver, precious stones and all. And the people took challenge. He said, no. They said unto David, they said, no, you will not take this blessing alone. Everyone went inside and brought out all the gold they had, all the silver they had. Everyone began to give. Everyone began to give towards the building of God's work, of God's temple. Everyone began to give. They said to themselves, no, David, you will not enjoy the blessing alone. We also want to be blessed. Listen to me, an opportunity to give is an opportunity to be blessed. That is the revelation behind our engaging everybody for every project in this ministry, because we want everybody to be blessed. I can pray alone and say, God, give me the money, let me do it alone. I can pray and say, God, bring somebody to me to put the money in my hand. I want to do it alone. I can pray and say, God, that investment platform that I just invested, let it yield a great result. I want to use it. I want to do it alone. But there was a certain time how this revelation came. There was a certain time I went to the Lord. There was a project to be done. And I said, Lord, this money is in my account. I have the money. I want to go and do this. The Lord God said no. I said, Lord, why are you saying no? The Lord God said, He said, tell my people. He said, let them be engaged in this. Give opportunity. Always give opportunity for everyone that has a heart for an encounter with destiny. Let everyone that has a heart for an encounter with destiny, let them give towards it. I said, Lord, I don't want to stress your people. I don't want to bother you. The Lord said, no. He said, don't call it stress. Don't call it bothering my people. He said, call it giving them an opportunity to be blessed. He said, because if you don't engage them, you are making them poor. And you are not giving them opportunity for them to rise financially. I said, God, that is true. He said, yes, my son. He said, go and engage everybody and let those that have a heart for it, let them key into it. From that day, I got hold of that revelation. Every project being done here, I always come and publicly announce it. When we announce it, it's not begging you. The ministry is not begging you. When we announce it and we tell you to key into it, sometimes we go the extra mile to remind you over and over again. It is not begging you, because God cannot beg men. God is too big to beg you to give. Whatever you think you have is nothing compared to what God has given to some other people. Whatever you think you have is owned by God. There is nothing you have that is owned by you. That was the mistake that the rich fool made. He boasted with his chair and said, all this wealth, I've accumulated them on my own. And God said to him, He said, that night, He said, I demand your soul. And the rich fool died that night and left all the wealth. If God seizes your breath, if God sees your breath for 1 minute, what life will be there for you to enjoy that wealth? What you have is owned by God. So that is why every opportunity to engage in kingdom project is not God begging you. Nobody is begging you. Instead, we are giving you opportunity to be blessed. You are not bigger than the mandate. You are not bigger than God. You are not bigger than this assignment. God is bigger than you. So every time that God uses us to write to you and say, give concerning this, put your money concerning this, we need people to key into this, so support this work. It is an opportunity for your blessing. Are you getting it? It is an opportunity for your blessing. It is an opportunity for your blessing. I remember something that happened in one of my spiritual fathers, in the ministry of one of my spiritual fathers. He came out to the altar and made a public announcement of a project. And a man came to his office and said, sir, I want to give concerning this project, and he signed the check. After signing the check, some few weeks later, the man began to misbehave. And then my spiritual father called him to order and said, these things are not done like this. And the man said, if you don't take time, I will withdraw my check from you. Immediately, God spoke to my spiritual father. He said, return that check to him. He said, I want to dry up his account. My spiritual father said, Lord, this is what you want to do? The Lord said, yes. And immediately called the man and said, take your check. God asked me to return it to you. Since you feel that God is begging you because God wants to give you an opportunity, God is saying, take your check. I can do it without you. And lo and behold, in less than 2 weeks, the man placed an order for a consignment from China. The entire consignment sank on the sea. All his money drained. The man was back to square one. He came to church apologizing, asking God for forgiveness. He said to me, you are not bigger than God. What you think you have, God gave it to you. So it's an opportunity for a blessing. It's not an opportunity. It's not God begging you. So grab it with both hands and run with the vision. Every time you are being asked to give, run with it. Grab it with both hands. Be grateful for it and key into it with everything that you have, knowing that it is an opportunity for a turnaround. We may ask, we may say, how is it biblical? In the book of John chapter 19, reading from verse 38 down to 41, we will see that after Jesus died, there was a man called Joseph of Arimathea. After Jesus died, there was need to place the body of Jesus in a tomb, because Jesus said on the third day he's going to resurrect. And we know the story, the victory of the Holy Spirit, how Jesus resurrected on the third day and ascended to the Father. But before then, there was a need to place Jesus' body on the tomb, in a tomb, and there was nobody to pay for it. And a man called Joseph of Arimathea stood up and said, I will pay for a tomb. And he paid for a fresh tomb that nobody have ever been laid. That's one of the most expensive tombs to buy. The tomb that is fresh, nobody have ever been laid, is very expensive and costly. And the man paid for it, for the work of the Lord. When it was time for the embalmment, there was no oil, there was no spice to embalm the body of Jesus. And Nicodemus, that came to Jesus by night and said unto Jesus and said, Master, how can I be born again? I don't know if you remember that story. Nicodemus came and brought the spices for Jesus' body to be embalmed with. You are not bigger than God. Seize the opportunity to give as an opportunity for your breakthrough. Seize it as an opportunity for God to transform your life. We may ask another question and say, is God's business my responsibility? Must I take responsibility for God's project? Must I take responsibility for God's business? The answer is yes. If God's responsibility is to protect you, if you can trust God, if you feel that God's responsibility is to bless you and to protect you, then it is your responsibility also to be interested in God's work. Relationship is two-way. If you are talking on the phone, one person has to be on the talking end and the other one has to be on the receiving end, the listening end. If one person is on the talking end and nobody is on the listening end, it means that the equation is not balanced. If anything that goes wrong in your life, you hold God responsible and say, God, why did you allow this thing to happen? Then you also are supposed to be responsible for God's project and God's work. God is supposed to hold you responsible every time there is a project that is undone, every time there is a project that needs attention and you refuse to give attention. Are you getting me? It is your responsibility. Another question somebody might ask is, why can't God do it alone? Can't God do his work alone? Listen to me. The Bible said the cattle of 1,000 hills are his. If you were to be hungry, he will not ask of thee. Are you getting me? Psalm 50. The cattle of 1,000 hills are his. If you were to be hungry, he will not come and ask of thee. God can raise up anybody to do what he wants to do. The question is it not better if God used you? Is it not better if God used you? God can raise up anybody anywhere to sponsor his gospel. But it is better if God used you of the household of faith so that you will be blessed. Don't let an unbeliever come and be taking your blessing. Don't let an unbeliever come and be taking your blessing. That's why you see some unbelievers are getting so blessed. Why? Because when God calls the believer to give, some of them don't respond. Some of them don't want to give, some of them don't want to respond. So God goes out there, picks an unbeliever and pulls the unbeliever to go and give. And at the end of the day, bless the unbeliever. And then we begin to cry and say, God, why you bless the unbeliever? Why you blessing the hidden? The truth is, God gave equal opportunity, but the believer refused to grab it. Why? Because the believer was thinking, hey, maybe they want to eat my money. Maybe they want to dupe me. It's not my responsibility to be involved in God's project. And the unbeliever comes and clings to it, and the unbeliever gets blessed. Another question that we may ask is, what reward awaits everyone that came to God's work? Listen to me. God's reward differs. There is always reward for every labor in the house of God. The question is, what is your reward? Because you are not seeing your reward in terms of cash does not mean that God is not rewarding you. There are some people God rewards them through their children. All the good and sacrificial giving you are giving, God just pick a child of yours and bless that child and raise that child, that child becomes so very wealthy that child in turn starts to give to you, starts to take care of you. Some people, God rewards them through divine health. Or through the year, they never go to hospital. They never fall sick. Even if they fall sick, even if any of their kids fall sick, within few minutes, 1 or 2 days, the child is okay. They are okay, they are well. That is God's reward. God's reward can come in the form of protection from dangerous troubles. God is just protecting you. Your life is just going smoothly, no trouble, no issue. Everything is just going fluently in your life. Is God's reward. You are crossing a road and a car is supposed to hit you, and suddenly somehow the car just hold the brake and you are rescued from death. That is God's reward. God's reward can come in various forms. You have to understand that for every labor there is a reward. It is my prayer for you today that as you key into God's project, that your life and destiny will never remain the same. In Jesus' mighty name. Stay blessed. This is the prophet, Apostle King Unveiling. God bless you.